Hey everyone, welcome back to Integrative Psychonautics. I hope you're doing well out there. In today's video, this will just be kind of a shorter video where we're talking about the importance of cultivating immersion as a skill or a state that you're able to access that comes in incredibly handy both in psychedelic work and I would say in life in general. So this may be one to watch if you don't know what immersion is or you can't really think about why that might be important. Check this out. Okay, so last week I had a really awesome session with one of my favorite clients, and we were talking about this ability to access immersion as being really important. And they had fed back to me that they had never heard it quite put like this. And so I kind of put it on the list of things to talk about here because I thought it might be useful for more of you out there. So when it comes to positive psychedelic experiences. In particular, when we're talking mystical experiences, when we're talking non-dual experiences, when we're talking experiences of dissolving into the white light, dissolving into the divine love of the universe, these types of really high vibrational, powerful, transformative experiences that we know from science very much translates to better mental health outcomes in terms of, less depression, less anxiety for a longer period of time after this type of experience. They are, I think, an incredibly important key feature of psychedelics. I mean, one way to think about it would be that the higher the dose you take of a psychedelic, the more likely you are to have some sort of a mystical, non-dual, all one type experience. And so this is really one of the central features of what psychedelics do and part of how they heal. Now, if you're new to psychedelics and you're either curious about them or just kind of exploring them, and you've heard of this idea of surrendering or letting go into the experience, and you're perhaps a little unclear what that means, maybe that's slightly upsetting or alarming or triggering phrasing to you. I know a lot of people find that rather off-putting to hear because it kind of implies this powerlessness and this defeat, right? There's surrender has these connotations of kind of militaristic defeat, right? And so if we're a personality who's organized around power and struggle and force, sometimes we hear this word surrender, or even if there's a part of us that's kind of unconscious, that's kind of doesn't want to surrender. This idea of surrendering on psychedelics can be a bit triggering and upsetting, right? And so I think this is a misunderstanding. A lot of times that comes out of just kind of bad semantics, bad language. And I think perhaps another way of thinking of this that might make it a little clearer is for you to think of the access to these non-dual states, or the access to these states of bliss or ecstasy or wholeness or oneness. They're often inside of your ability to become immersed in a state, right? So if you think about it, we have states that we experience where we become totally absorbed in the experience completely, and it takes over our entire system. And this might be, for example, like a positive example might be if you're like on having one of those awesome, laughs with a friend, or maybe watching comedy or something, where it's like full belly laugh. It just hijacks your whole system, and you kind of can't stop laughing. That's kind of a form of immersion, right? Or we think of, being in the zone and being super on point with a high performance state, something like a flow state, for example, where you're doing something at a very precise high level and it's just flowing through you. It's almost effortless. You don't know how you're doing it. You're just doing it and it's just going and going and going. That's often also a state of absorption or a state of immersion, right? Another example that a lot of people are familiar with is obviously, the heights of really good lovemaking. Good sex can also provide a form of immersion or absorption. Playing instruments, sports, surfing, for some people talking, for some people, et cetera, right? So there's all these different examples that we can draw from in our lives that we're probably already familiar of these, these states or these moments where we get totally absorbed into something and we let ourselves totally go there, right? And this permission piece and this ability to allow ourselves to get absorbed is what it means really when they say surrender, or when they say let go, or when they say, open up, or, this kind of a thing, to these kind of peak experiences on psychedelics. And so this is something to explore as part of our range of capacity of nervous system that I've talked about before, of kind of dissociation or association. Getting absorbed into an experience is association. This would be another way of thinking of it. We're getting more deeply embodied or more completely aligned with the physical experience of something, right? And this is an important ability. What you'll notice a lot if you're, struggling with happiness or well-being or mental health or something like that, for most of us that have issues, therapeutic issues that we want to work on, we get really absorbed into our problems, right? Really absorbed into our depression or our anxiety or our grief or our worrying or ruminating or intrusive thoughts, and really have struggle with being absorbed into positive states, struggle with being absorbed into gratitude or joy or clarity or motivation or passion or playfulness or love or compassion or these kinds of things. And so, in terms of a life skill, this hopefully makes sense why this also applies. You want to be able to get absorbed. In particular, you want to be able to get absorbed into positive states, into beneficial states, into high performance states like we're talking about earlier, into things that you want to experience more of. You want to be able to have that ability to amplify that experience and lean into it and let it fully absorb you, right? Absorb your attention, absorb your emotion, absorb your engagement, let everything else get filtered out and fully go into these positive states. Conversely, the other kind of nervous system skill that we want to learn along the way is how to dissociate, how to unplug, how to minimize and get space from, what might be upsetting states or uncomfortable states or overwhelming states, things like this, right? So I just want to kind of plant this seed out there in your awareness, in your attention, to think about cultivating absorption, cultivating immersion, right? And learning how to get immersed into the things that are rewarding and beautiful and develop this capacity inside of yourself. This is a skill you can learn. This is a skill that you can develop and that you can work at and get good at. It's something, if there's interest, I could maybe build a course around or include in a course. But you want to work at this. You want to develop your ability to get totally immersed into the things that are meaningful to you, because this is how we get powerful, positive experiences in life, right? And so just thought I would kind of give that languaging to you, give that framing to you as perhaps something useful in your work with psychedelics, because a lot of times what happens is we're kind of afraid, we're kind of nervous about letting ourselves really go there, really, really getting absorbed into these powerful, positive experiences. That's kind of its own taboo, especially, I would say, if you come from a Western culture, especially, there's a taboo around really like letting yourself go into a big positive experience. But this is one of the central key healing things that psychedelics offer us if we have the courage to go there. If you struggle with that, this might be another reason to work with someone like myself, a coach or a therapist, either in your psychedelic sessions or beforehand. And this is also something you can just work out with things like pleasurable experiences, like really getting present, doing mindfulness work with, something as simple as, taking a walk in the evening in the park, or, getting a back rub from someone, or feeling what it feels like to hug someone, or enjoying the food you're eating and getting really present to it. There are all these little ways you can start to practice really enjoying something. And I think that starts to be a gateway into it. But my point being here, and I'm kind of rambling a bit, I get it, is if you need support around this, reach out to me or find a therapist or someone who can help you with this kind of thing. And if you feel like you can do this on your own, I would encourage you to start to cultivate this and plug this into your psychedelic work. This is a huge part of, quite frankly, resource states, resourcing yourself, and the kind of let's call it the positive end of the pool of psychedelic therapy. So that's my message to you. Thanks for watching. Much love to you all. Take care.